Hello everyone, it's Jasmine again, and I'm gonna try to help you guys out with coloring skin. I didn't want to redraw a whole new drawing just to make this video, so I'm just gonna use the drawing that I'm already working on of Liza Koshy so you can get an idea of how I color. Plus you can see like the whole thing. I'll give you a close-up of that later. So today we are going to be working on highlights of skin as well as undertones. As you can see, I haven't colored in the chin or the neck yet, and we're going to go over that. I'm not really sure how long this video is going to be. Hopefully it's not going to be 30 minutes or 20 minutes like the last tutorial that I did. But it's been a while since I did one, and everybody keeps asking me how I draw stuff, so I figure it's probably easier to do it this way. Today we're going to be using Prismacolor Premier Pencils and Caran d'Ache. I think we can try and just use the, or color over the neck this time so you can kind of see that. And I'll show you the reference picture that I'm using here. This is the reference that I'm using. Not sure how bright that is. For the neck, as you can see, I have already colored in some black and brown for the shadows. We're going to focus on the texture of the skin here. And then for the undertones we're going to be using this yellow ochre. So the first thing we're going to do is go over the shadow part here with some yellow. I'll usually just color in straight lines, or I'll color in little circles depending on where I'm coloring. So it looks like the neck, there's like a line that goes down this way, so this is a little bit darker than the rest of the skin. And then I put dots where the shadows are supposed to be, so this whole section right here is supposed to be darker. So we're going to fill that in with yellow. I'm just going over it really lightly. Looks like this part is darker. That's right, because I put dots there, so yeah, this one's dark as well. For this part right under the chin, I'm just going to use vertical lines. And because there's some areas here that appear to be black, we are also going to use blue and orange. I'm going to use the pumpkin orange from Prismacolor and the phthalo cyanine blue. It's a really weird name for a blue. It's pretty bright. So for that part, I'm just going to go over that with dots. And this is really going to create a lot of depth with the skin. It looks a little weird up close, but from further away, it kind of tricks your eye into thinking that there's maybe only one, that it's just more uniform. Up close you can see all the colors, but far away you won't be able to, your eye won't be able to tell. Over with orange, just tone down the blue. So this is a process that I usually use for coloring the entire face before I actually color it. This is just getting the skin texture in, as well as any shadows or highlights and any tones or undertones of the skin. And I just pretty much go over dots for several hours. The undertone process usually takes me like 3 to 4 hours to do. So the next color we're going to take is this Raw Umber, and it looks like right here where her neck starts. It looks like it's that color there, but that has a lot of dots in it, so we're gonna try and match that as closely as we can. You have to look at stuff a lot more closely rather than just seeing peach or light peach or brown and pink. There's so many more colors of skin that you can, or more colors that you can see in the skin if you just look at the picture, the reference picture more closely. I did color a little bit of black over here. It might have been gray, I'm not sure. It's pretty dark. It might be black. Okay, so we're gonna go back over here and put some more orange in for the darker parts. The important thing is for the undertone stage is to not press your pencil down too far unless you're making, or put more pressure on the pencil unless you're doing dots. Even then I would recommend not putting full pressure on the paper because you do want these to sort of blend in and kind of disappear once everything comes together. And looks like part of her neck you can see a little bit of gray. So I'm going to take the Prismacolor 50% Cool Gray. This one has a little bit more of a bluish undertone. And let's see, the Caran d'Ache French Gray, 30% French Gray, and go over the skin a little bit right here. It is darker, but I'm not going to go in with any super dark colors yet. So when you color the face, you just have to be a little bit more strategic about how you place the dots on the paper, and the dots actually have to be smaller, unless it's like a man that has facial, or has facial stubble or whatever. She doesn't really have many spots on her face, so I didn't really do much. I just ended up coloring all the undertones with just lines. So we're done with the French Gray, and now we can move over to the Cool Gray. Pretty much just adding dots wherever there's white space. Alright, next we're going to take the... This one is russet. Actually, I don't want that one. That one's a little bit too red for the section that I'm going to color. So we're going to take the burnt sienna and go over this portion of the neck, which is a little bit lighter than where the neck kind of like bends a little bit. The skin changes right there. So we're going to add this before we go in with our lighter colors. And we'll go back in just a moment and add in the pinks and the darker browns. So now we're just going to do a light layer of tan, like that. I can go and add in some, whatever this is. It's, I don't know, it's lavender. The color rubbed off of it, so I'm not sure what color purple it is. Then we're going to move on and add in the highlights here before we proceed, because we have to do that before we color any further. So for that, I'm going to take my white pencil and just start adding in dots. This way, when you color over it later, it gives the appearance that there's a little bit of light shining on the skin. We're also going to use a Caran d'Ache Anthraquinoid Pink. That is a really weird shade of pink. It looks like this. It's like neon, I guess. It's really bright pink. Oh, here it is. Alright. So here's the peach from Caran d'Ache. And this one is, I'm not sure, but it's a really light pale pink. This is a peach one from Caran d'Ache. Pale pink. And this is a Prismacolor pink henna. So we're going to use the henna one first. Since there's some darker areas, I don't want to use bright pink for it, so I'll use the darker magenta for it. You just start coloring in little circles like that. I think we're pretty much done with the dots for now. A lot of mistakes that people make when using Prismacolor pencils is they will sharpen them to a point and then expect the pencil to not break when they're using full pressure on the lead. And that's a really great way to break the pencils very quickly. And the pencils, they can technically be sharpened to a point. I would just recommend not using full pressure when you're coloring certain areas. Also, if you are going to use a lot of pressure, I would recommend just, you can still sharpen it, but don't like sharpen it to a point. This is not to a point, so if I needed to color harder, I could, and the pencil lead will not break. And then we're going to take the peach from Caran d'Ache and just kind of fill in some areas very lightly with small circles. So for this section, I'm just going to use really light vertical lines just to get a good even coat of everything. Right here it's going to be lighter because the skin is closer to the light, so you bring it forward a little bit. For this, we're going to add the pale pink from the Caran d'Ache and just kind of go over that. I don't usually draw exactly like the reference unless I'm drawing just a regular portrait. Mostly what I do is I will draw a different background, so I usually have to change the way the light looks on the skin. I'm actually more experienced with doing that. So I've been doing that for the last 6 months or so. I'm pretty comfortable enough to venture off and, you know, change the shadow, change the highlights, change the light that's shining on the skin without having to use a reference. I just kind of look at it and I imagine what side, I just kind of picture in my head what side of the face would be showing towards the sun and which side would not be. Like I said, once we get done with this tutorial on coloring skin, I will go back and bring some of my older stuff, or not my older stuff, just some of my most recent portraits, so you can kind of see what I was referring to earlier with changing how the light looks on the skin and stuff like that. Once you get comfortable with coloring skin, you can do a lot of things. You can change portraits to however you want. They can still be realistic, and like I said, you can still change them to make it look the way you want to look. We have the 50% French Gray, which is this pencil. This is from Prismacolor. And we're gonna just go over this section right here where there's all shadowing. Just to give it a little bit of a cooler, well, not cooler, like a warmer shadow, but it's not going to be extremely dark because this is about where the shadow actually ends. And I'm going to take the, I think this is the burnt ochre from Prismacolor. It's a little bit more on the reddish side, or yeah, a little bit more reddish brown, so I'm going to go back over here where the shadows are and kind of add some of that back in with some dots. Since this pencil is not dark enough, it's not pigmented enough, I'm going to go back and take the Caran d'Ache, where is it? Burnt Sienna. It's a little bit darker, more richer in color, so I'm going to just go back with this one and go into the darker, into the shadows, and add some of this color in. It's actually going to show up on there. For the skin right here where it starts coming into the light, I think I didn't put white on the side yet, so we're going to add some of that white here before we add some of the peach in. Take some salmon pink, just to bring out a little bit more of the orange. And some of the pink from Caran d'Ache. Now for the browns, I'm using the dark umber from Prismacolor and going back in with some more dots just to kind of tie everything together, make sure it's the same person, make sure it matches the face. Use the French gray and go back over here under the neck, or under the chin on the neck, and fill that in some more. For the highlights right here, just to get a little bit more skin texture in, to make sure it's not lost when I add the shadows in, I'm going to first sharpen this. This is a beige colored pencil from Prismacolor. I'm going to make sure it's really sharp before I continue. For the shadows under the chin, we're gonna, I actually need gray, so we're gonna use gray and light peach. I just want to add a little bit more skin whoops, skin texture there before I continue on. And we're going to go back here with dark umber and add another layer of brown. And I'll take the Prismacolor black because I need black, but I don't need it super, super dark. And I just want to add a little black here. So that way there's no definite line from where I was coloring black earlier. I do want to go over this with whatever this is. Looks like Prussian blue. This is going to be the Caran d'Ache one, so this one's pretty dark. So wherever the shadow is the darkest, I'm going to go ahead and add the blue there. And one more layer of blue. For these shadows, I'm going to use the dark sap green, just to kind of set the skin back in space. Go over that with the red. I would highly recommend avoiding black for this kind of shadowing. I'll go over that again with whatever color this is. Looks like russet. It's more like a reddish tan. And go over that with grass green. And right there for the edge of the shadows, we're putting the French gray. We're going to go over that with, I used the dark sap green, and now I'm using the russet. This way it just tones down the green a little bit, adds a little bit more red. Now we can go over this part of the skin with dark umber. Tone it down a little bit. It looks like it's a little bit too light. Just going to use circular motions like that. And add some more down here because it looks like the paper is not quite covered up yet. So go back over that with the burnt sienna. Alright, well, that's all I have for you guys today, and I hope you have a good weekend. Don't forget to save this video in your YouTube playlist, that way you have something to refer to later. But like I said before, as you can see, I mean, it's not too hard of a process, but it does definitely require a lot of patience. Definitely save this video if you ever need something to refer to for skin tone. I will be doing more tutorials, so if you have something else that you want me to do a tutorial about, leave it in a comment below and I will see what I can do. I have done a hair tutorial. I will link that video below in the description, or you can click one of the cards that will probably be above in this screen somewhere. And don't forget to subscribe. I will try to make new videos regularly. I'm supposed to be making videos every Friday. I will really try harder to do that. I did this one because so many people have asked me over the years, how on earth do I color skin and how do I color hair and all that stuff. So I figured I'd probably make this video and explain myself a little bit better. Well, I will see you guys next Friday, hopefully. Bye.